And there were days I didn't want to wake up, just drinking a lot, self-medicating, trying to find a way to cope. I vividly remember having a dream, and she just hugged me and told me, "Daddy, I'm okay." And from that day on, I went the opposite direction.
The timestamp reads 11:21 p.m., October 23rd, 2019, Auburn, Alabama, a Chevron gas station on College Street. The footage is grainy, but what it captures is unmistakable. A young woman walks through the automatic doors, dark hair, relaxed posture. She moves with the easy confidence of someone who has done this 100 times before, because she has. This is her routine, a late-night stop for her favorite snack, sour cream and onion chips, before the short drive home. She is 2 minutes from her apartment. She is 90 seconds inside that store. She is 19 years old. Her name is Anniiah Blanchard. And in the upper left corner of that same footage, there is another figure, a man, 30 years old. He is not buying chips. He is not filling a tank. According to investigators, he is watching. His name is Ibrahim Yazid. What the camera does not show is what happens in the parking lot. What it does not capture is the next 23 minutes. But what it does record, the timestamp, the proximity, the presence of these two people in the same frame, will become the foundation of everything that follows. This is the last verified footage of Anniiah Blanchard alive. When someone vanishes, the first question people ask is, what did they do wrong? Did they take a risk? Did they trust the wrong person? Did they go somewhere they should not have gone? This is the wrong question. Anniiah Blanchard did everything right. She attended a funeral with her family. She drove her younger brother safely home. She texted him when she arrived. She stopped at a gas station she had visited dozens of times before, 2 minutes from her door, in a college town she knew well. The right question is this: how was the man inside that gas station free to be there at all? Because Ibrahim Yazid was not an unknown risk. He was a documented one. Earlier that same year, he had been charged with kidnapping a 77-year-old man, robbing him and beating him so severely the victim nearly died. He faced additional charges for assaulting and robbing a second man. These were not misdemeanors. These were violent, predatory crimes against vulnerable people. And yet, on October 23, 2019, Ibrahim Yazid was out on bond. He was staying in a hotel just minutes from that Chevron station. He was free. This file is not about a random act of violence. It is about a system that creates the conditions for that violence to occur. October 23rd began with grief. Anniiah, her younger brother Elijah, and their mother Angela had traveled to northern Alabama for a family friend's funeral. The service ran late. By 7 p.m., Anniiah knew they needed to leave. She had work the next morning, and Auburn was 185 miles away, a 4-hour drive through darkness. Angela kissed her daughter on the cheek, told her she loved her. Before leaving Birmingham, Anniiah stopped briefly to see her stepfather, Walt Harris. Walt had raised Anniiah since she was 3 years old. He was a UFC heavyweight fighter, ranked 9th in the world, training for his next bout. He hugged her tight. She looked tired. He almost asked her to stay. He did not. That moment, the hug, the hesitation, the decision to let her go, would stay with him for the rest of his life. Anniiah and Elijah made the journey without incident, arriving in Auburn around 11 p.m. She dropped her brother at his apartment, 3 miles from the home she shared with Sarah. Elijah told her, "I love you, be careful, make sure you get home safe." At 11:09 p.m., he texted, "Are you close to being home?" She replied immediately, "Yeah, 3M." 3 miles, normally a 10-minute drive. She was almost there. The Chevron on College Street was a familiar stop. Anniiah went there often, usually for the same thing: a bag of sour cream and onion chips, a drink, something small before bed. Security footage shows her entering the store at 11:21 p.m. She moves through the aisles. She makes her purchase. She is inside for approximately 90 seconds. The same footage shows Ibrahim Yazid inside the store at the same time. An eyewitness would later report seeing a man force Anniiah into her vehicle in the parking lot. What investigators believe happened next is pieced together from evidence: damage to Anniiah's black Honda CR-V, forensic analysis of the interior, and testimony that would come later. There was a struggle. The damage to the exterior of the vehicle suggests it began while the car was moving. At some point, Yazid produced a weapon. Anniiah fought back. She tried to escape. He fired. The ballistic evidence, an impact in the door, and the biological evidence in the passenger seat told investigators a story they did not want to confirm. According to court documents, the amount of forensic material was indicative of someone suffering a life-threatening injury. Within minutes of leaving the Chevron, Anniiah's car appeared at another nearby gas station. Yazid went inside and purchased a small cigar. Anniiah was still in the vehicle. If you are following this case file, consider leaving a brief comment below. Some viewers simply type "File open" to mark that they have begun. Others share what stood out to them in the footage. There is no requirement, but this channel exists because people choose to pay attention. That is all. Sarah, Anniiah's roommate, sent a text asking where she was. The response came back, "I'm smoking a blunt, LOL." Then, "I just met him, LOL." The message referred to someone named Eric. Sarah was immediately suspicious. Anniiah had never used the word blunt before. The tone felt wrong. When Sarah asked who Eric was and where Anniiah was, there was no response. 11:43 p.m. Anniiah's phone would never send another message. Shortly after, a license plate reader captured her Honda CR-V near the entrance to Interstate 85, heading south toward Montgomery. Inside that vehicle, according to the evidence, Anniiah Blanchard was already gone, or critically close to it, and Ibrahim Yazid was driving her to an unmarked grave. October 24th. Anniiah tried to FaceTime her daughter, as she did every morning. No answer. Sarah checked Anniiah's bedroom. Empty. The bed had not been slept in. Anniiah had not shown up for work, something she never did. The mother of the children she cared for as a nanny called repeatedly. No response. Elijah got the call from Sarah. His heart sank. He knew immediately something was wrong. Angela and Walt jumped in their truck and drove the agonizing 2 hours to Auburn. "That drive was the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life," Angela said later, "because I knew something wasn't right." They arrived to find Anniiah's apartment exactly as she had left it the night before. Her dog, Blue, was alone. Anniiah would never have left him that way.
Within hours, Anniiah's disappearance was breaking news. "We just want our daughter home," Angela pleaded to the cameras. "Please, if you know anything, come forward." 2 days after Anniiah vanished, her black Honda CR-V was found in a Montgomery apartment complex 55 miles from Auburn. The vehicle was badly damaged. Inside, investigators discovered what the former Lee County District Attorney, Brandon Hughes, would later describe as clear evidence of foul play. But there was no sign of Anniiah. The community of Homewood, where Anniiah had grown up, erupted into action. Ribbons in her favorite color appeared on trees and lampposts. Nearly 2,000 people organized search parties, combing through woods, alleyways, and back roads from Auburn to Tuskegee. UFC President Dana White and champion John Jones each contributed $25,000 to the reward fund. Dozens of law enforcement agencies joined a massive task force. Walt canceled his upcoming fight. "Fighting was the furthest thing from my mind," he said. "Every day without answers was agony. Every night was sleepless." The family existed in what Angela called pure hell. 14 days after Anniiah disappeared, police released a critical image. The security footage from the Chevron showing the man inside the store at the same time as Anniiah. An eyewitness had reported seeing this man force her into her car. Police called him a person of interest and warned the public he should be considered dangerous and potentially armed. When investigators identified him, the Blanchard Harris family learned something that made their brief infinitely worse. His name was Ibrahim Yazid. He was 30 years old. He was out on bond. Despite being charged earlier that year with kidnapping, robbing, and nearly killing a 77-year-old man, despite being accused of robbing and assaulting another victim, despite the severity and violence of those crimes, he had been released. He was staying in a hotel near Auburn, minutes from the Chevron. Police located Yazid the next day, hiding in the woods 145 miles away, across the state line in Florida. He did not surrender peacefully. When he appeared in court with a swollen left eye, authorities revealed the horrifying evidence found in Anniiah's car, fluids indicative of someone suffering a life-threatening injury and a ballistic impact in the door. Yazid was charged with kidnapping. He waived extradition and was brought back to Lee County, Alabama. Angela and Walt waited, desperate for answers about their daughter's whereabouts. For nearly a month, the family clung to hope. "Regardless of what the police say," said Elijah Blanchard Sr., Anniiah's biological father and a local pastor, "I still have hope that my Anniiah is out there waiting on her father to get her." If you have followed this series before, you know the pattern. The evidence accumulates, the picture sharpens, and sometimes the truth arrives not through confession, but through cooperation. If this is your first file, consider following this channel. We open new cases regularly, not for entertainment, but because documentation matters, because someone has to look at the footage and ask what really happened. The breakthrough came through Antoine Fisher. Fisher was a man with his own criminal history, including time served for capital crimes. He was arrested and charged with helping Yazid dispose of evidence. Facing serious charges himself, Fisher cooperated. He provided a roadmap. District Attorney Brandon Hughes will never forget the moment he and investigators found the location Fisher described, a wooded area in Macon County, Alabama, between Auburn and Montgomery. Among the items recovered was a boot. Hughes photographed it and called the Harris family to his office. He showed Walt the image. The boots were Sorel brand. Walt had bought them for Anniiah during a family trip to New York City. Walt looked at the photograph, set the phone on the table, and said quietly, "Y'all excuse me." He walked to a back stairwell. Angela found him moments later, screaming, punching a concrete wall, his knuckles bloodied, his heart shattered. Their worst fear was confirmed. Anniiah's remains had been found. What investigators pieced together from the forensic record, the witness testimony, and the physical evidence told a story of the final 23 minutes. Ibrahim Yazid ended up inside Anniiah's vehicle, whether through deception, coercion, or force remains uncertain. The damage to the car indicates a struggle while it was moving. Yazid produced a weapon. Anniiah fought back. She tried to escape. He fired. The forensic evidence in the passenger seat was catastrophic. The medical examiner's report confirmed the cause of death, gunshot injury. Manner of death, homicide. Yazid drove her car towards Montgomery, stopping at the second gas station to buy a cigar. He eventually reached the apartment complex where the vehicle would later be found. This is where Fisher enters the narrative. According to his testimony, in the early morning hours of October 24th, just hours after Anniiah disappeared, Yazid arrived in Montgomery driving what appeared to be her black Honda. Fisher followed Yazid to the apartment complex. Yazid left the Honda and got into Fisher's truck. He directed Fisher to drive to an area behind a church near a cemetery. When Fisher looked in his rearview mirror, he saw Yazid dragging something wrapped in a comforter. He could see what appeared to be extremities. Yazid dragged the bundle into the woods, returned to the truck, and got in. When Fisher confronted him, asking if that was a body, Yazid allegedly told him he had shot a girl when she went for the gun. Fisher's testimony would become central to the prosecution's case. On December 2, 2019, District Attorney Hughes announced that Ibrahim Yazid was being charged with capital murder in Anniiah's death. The state would seek the death penalty. 2 days later, when Yazid appeared in court, he showed no remorse. Instead, he challenged the prosecution directly. "They don't have no video, no audio of me harming anyone. That's why I'm trying to see how y'all going to bind me over on hearsay. Y'all ain't presentin' no evidence." He seemed pleased with himself. The Blanchard-Harris family attended every hearing, forcing themselves to face the man who had destroyed their lives. "I wanted to climb across that barricade," Walt admitted later. "I was shaking with anger. Only Angela's hand on his arm kept him from moving. I wanted him to know that I'm representing my daughter and that I'm not going anywhere. We're right here, and we're going to fight this all the way through." Here's the question this file cannot escape. Ibrahim Yazid was not an invisible threat. He was known. He was charged. He was documented. Earlier in 2019, he had allegedly kidnapped a 77-year-old man, robbed him, and beaten him nearly to death. He faced additional charges for assaulting and robbing another man. And yet, he was released on bond. He was free to stay in a hotel near Auburn, free to enter that Chevron station at 11:21 p.m., free to encounter a 19-year-old woman buying chips 2 minutes from home. Investigators later revealed that Yazid was also facing charges for shooting 2 other people the year before Anniiah's death. How many warnings does a system need? How many victims does it take? Angela Blanchard-Harris has spent the years since her daughter's death advocating for what she calls Anniiah's Law, proposed legislation that would allow judges to deny bond to serious violent offenders. "You have people committing multiple violent crimes," she said, "and they just get out on bond. It's just not okay." Before we close this file, a question for those following along. When you look at this case, the bond decision, the proximity, the timing, do you believe this was a failure of individuals or a failure of design? Type system if you believe the flaw was structural. Type choice if you believe individual decisions were the primary factor, or share your own interpretation. The comments on these files often contain perspectives I had not considered. Walt Harris found himself questioning everything: his faith, his understanding of the world, why something like this could happen to his daughter. "I didn't know why God would allow it," he said, but eventually he found a different framework. God didn't do this. A human being made an evil choice. One night, in a dream, Anniiah appeared to him. She was sitting in their living room. A beam of light shone on her. She reached out her arms, hugged him, and spoke 2 words: "Keep going." Walt woke with a sense of purpose he had not felt since she vanished. A fight was scheduled for October 24, 2020, exactly 1 year from the day Anniiah was killed. When Walt told Angela he was ready to return to the octagon, she asked if he was sure. "I'm sure," he said. He knew Anniiah would want him to fight. He flew to Abu Dhabi. He trained in a hotel room during quarantine. He stepped into the cage carrying a weight that had nothing to do with his opponent.
He started strong, but the fight ended quickly, and Walt clutched his stomach in the aftermath. He admitted later that he had needed more mental preparation. Days after returning home, he collapsed on the floor, crying, finally releasing what he had been holding. Angela found her own path forward. She founded a nonprofit called Anniiah's Heart. Its mission, teaching safety to young people and helping search for missing persons. She has conducted sessions in high schools across Alabama, sharing the lessons that Anniiah's death made clear. She is still fighting for Anniiah's law. Nearly 2,000 people attended Anniiah's celebration of life around Christmas 2019. Her friends spoke of a young woman who made everyone feel seen, who put others first, even when she was struggling, who led with love and prayer. She was a leader, one friend said through tears. She would put people first, even when she needed anything. I love you, Anniiah. You are truly my sunshine on rainy days. On December 21, 2019, the city of Homewood, Alabama, officially designated the date as Anniiah Haley Blanchard Day. But for her family, every day is a reminder of what was stolen. Elijah lost his best friend, the sister who followed him to college just to stay close. The younger children, Asa and Ayanna, lost the big sister who helped raise them. Hannah lost her best friend since 6th grade. Walt and Angela lost their angel. As of the time this file was assembled, the case against Ibrahim Yazid has been subject to delays, including those caused by the pandemic. His multiple criminal cases have moved slowly through the system. Yazid maintains his innocence. His attorney declined to be interviewed. The family continues to wait for justice. Justice delayed, they say, feels like justice denied. Anniiah Blanchard was 19 years old. She had dreams of her future. She was loved deeply by everyone who knew her. She did everything right that night. She just wanted to get home safely. And the system that should have protected her by keeping a violent, documented predator behind bars failed catastrophically. This case is not about a mistake Anniiah made. It is about a mistake the system made. A mistake that gave a man charged with kidnapping and near-fatal assault the freedom to enter a gas station at 11:21 p.m. and encounter a young woman buying chips. Her family wants you to know her name. They want you to remember her smile, her kindness, her spirit. And they want you to understand that this was preventable, that it was predictable, that it was the result of policies that prioritized the procedural rights of an accused violent offender over the safety of the people he encountered. There is a particular kind of horror in proximity, not the stranger in the alley, not the threat you see coming, but the threat you do not see, because someone else decided it was acceptable to release it back into the world. The CCTV footage from the Chevron gas station does not show a crime. It shows something worse, the moment before one became inevitable. Anniiah Blanchard walked through those doors at 11:21 p.m. and never walked out free again. The last record is never the full truth, but sometimes it is enough to show us where the truth was hiding all along. One final question before this file closes. Have you ever thought about what small routine stops you make without thinking? The gas station on the way home, the store on the corner, the place you go because you always have? What would it take to make you reconsider? Type your answer below, or simply type closed to mark that you have finished this file. The next case opens soon. Last seen files. The footage doesn't lie, but it doesn't tell everything either.